Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to the Unbreakable show with Dr. Holt. The trauma doctor is back, and I am doing my house calls to you on today. And I'm just excited that you're with me today. I am a traumatologist, trauma crisis specialist, brain health specialist, integrative medicine doctor. And we just so excited to have you on today. Today, I want to talk about on the Unbreakable show the 5 ways of to know how am I depressed. 5 ways to know that you are depressed. Wow, that's amazing because 1 out of 5 Americans is struggling with a mental illness today. And one of those mental conditions can be a mood disorder, such as depression. I know you've heard many people talk about depression. Oh, I'm depressed. I'm this. I'm that. But I want you to know, or have some kind of mental illness, some kind of mood disorder, or to say that they are seeing a therapist or they're seeing a counselor. But let me tell you, depression is certainly real. Many people, such as yourself, may be struggling with depression. And one thing about depression is you are not alone. How many times sometimes we just feel like we are battling all by ourselves? Well, I want you to know that you are not alone. And if you are struggling with depression, I encourage you to get some help. I encourage you to find a licensed professional to assist you. I encourage you to find a therapist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, some type of counselor who can help you in these battles. Listen, we were just talking about um, in our previous episode. Right now, there's crazy wildfires in California, and I was watching the news yesterday, and I couldn't tell you how distraught people were. I couldn't tell you how many people were just so emotionally just debilitated and depressed to see that their entire neighborhoods is gone. We're talking about their homes are gone, their buildings where they used to work at, their employment gone. Places that they used to go to church for worship, their places, their house of worship is gone. And there's no depression like that because usually the house of worship is a place that when life have totally turned upside down for you, it is church, it is the houses of worship that brought inspiration when we would endure some of the worst seasons of our life. But what do you do when even your house of worship that brings you inspiration is gone? So depression is certainly real. And today I just wanted to spend some time um, encouraging you about how real depression really is. And as a trauma doctor, seeing my patients go through many life major challenges can bring depression. If you lose your career that you work so hard for, and you get laid off, or the building closed, or your position has ended, and it's just gone, poof, gone, it can bring depression. If you've worked so hard in investments and your investments go sour and you lose all of your assets, let me tell you, it can bring depression. If a loved one passed away that you love, not only you suffer from grief, but you have to watch grief. If grief is not really managed, you can also not only suffer from grief, but you can suffer from depression. So we talk about, how do I know, Dr. Ho? What are ways how I know that I am suffering from depression? Because sometimes people can't tell the difference between just feeling sad or are they really going through some serious level of depression, right? And depression comes in many stages. You can have a mild level of depression, you can have a moderate, and you certainly can have a manic, a really serious level of depression where you need medication, you need to be managed by your psychiatrist or your doctor. So depression can certainly get real. So what are some of the things how I know, Dr. Holt, that I'm going through signs of depression? Number one, persistent sadness. If you are going through a lot of levels of persistent, long term sadness and emptiness, that could be a sign of depression. That may be more than you just having a bad day, right? That may be more than you just having a challenging moment. That could be a sign that you are suffering from some deep levels of depression. Two, loss of interest. When you're sad and you lose your interest of your passion, things that you are passionate about, things it would light up your day to do, and you lost all your joy from your passion, your joy for your career, your joy from your profession, and for some people, your joy of your ministry. That could be another sign that maybe because of your lack and loss of interest, that you are suffering from some level of depression. Watch your sleeping patterns. That's three. Sleeping patterns. When you're in the bed all day, you're sleeping all day. That's not normal. Yes, we know we need to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep just to revive our bodies. But when you notice patterns where you just want to be in the bed, be in your room all day, it's dark, it's gloomy, you don't allow sunshine to come in your room, you close all of your curtains and your blinds and stay in your room and stay in your bed. This could also be another sign that you might be suffering from depression. Another thing you want to be looking at, fourthly, is your low energy and fatigue. Believe it or not, I told you this before, is that your brain and your body is not separate, right? So whatever you're struggling in your brain, eventually, if we don't stop those situations or circumstances, it's eventually going to impact your body, where your body follows suit and become very drained and very low energy and weak and feeble and lack fatigue. So when you're very fatigued for some emotional things that has happened in your life, and that do happen, you might be suffering from depression. What could that look like far as application? Um, like I said, if you lose your job, you lose your career. You work 20 and 30 years, or unfortunately, you get fired and it's gone. It's not unheard of for people to slip into depression. If you go through a bad divorce, you've been married for a long time, your family just totally falls apart, your heart has been broken, and you don't know how to move on from that bad breakup or that bad divorce, and you're sad, and now you're staying in your room, you're sleeping all day, you are withdrawn, you're siloed from everybody. Those can be signs of, as well, you are in depression. And the last thing I would say is another sign of depression is having brain fog, having a very difficult way of concentrating, right? Also impacts your whole emotional regulation to where you can't even focus, right? You're so distracted, you're fatiguing your body. These are some signs that you might be struggling from depression. But this is the good news, is that trouble don't last always. Trouble don't last always. And so I want you to know that there is hope even in times of depression. I remember I was speaking on the topic that when life brings storms and circumstances bring rain, you know what you should do? Dance in the rain. When life bring rain and storms, you don't have to run away from it. You can embrace it and dance in the rain. And what I'm saying is, I'm not removing what you're going through is not real. I'm not minimizing your circumstances. Matter of fact, I'm validating your circumstances. What I'm encouraging you to do is dance in the rain. You can thrive from depression. You can move on and get your joy back. Well, how do I do that, Dr. Holt? What are some steps I can do after now you told me what are my symptoms that can help me recognize what depression is? How do I pull myself out of it? Number one, I'm always going to tell you to see a doctor. Get you a therapist, get you a licensed professional. Number one, get therapy. You got to be real about what you're going through, and you have to acknowledge that what you are struggling with is a problem and you can't pull yourself out of it alone. So get you some help. There's nothing wrong with getting some mental health help, some mental health services. As we normalize diabetes on the physical side, let us normalize depression on the mental side. Two, medication, believe it or not. Sometimes depression gets so tough, so rough, that you can get into an emotional low to where you are at risk for others and you are at risk for yourself, to where you might need to get medication. So you do need to see your doctor or your psychiatrist to maybe be able to get on some anti depression medications to help pull you through and help you get regulated in the midst of what you're struggling with. Three, I would say lifestyle changes. Yes, you got to get away from the negative energy. You got to get away from those who pull you down. You got to get away from people who are verbal and emotional abusive to you. Believe it or not, one big way how people struggle with depression is constantly being bombarded with all kind of levels of abuse, the emotional abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. That will drive you into depression. So let's make sure that you are doing your lifestyle changes, exercising, staying around positive people, staying around people who pours back into your cup, that helps you to get your joy back and help you to get your peace back. Okay. Fourthly, I would say get some support. I always talk about support, support, support. Yes, get you a doctor. Yes, get you a therapist. But when you are not in the doctor's office, what else can I bring into my arsenal to uplift me out of depression, right? Or my mental health struggles that I have. You must have a support network. No one is successful alone. Every single person that I know on this planet that have ever made it to any level of success had to lean on someone at one point or level of journey in their lives. So make sure that you get some support. Fifthly, I would say relaxation. That means stay away from stress. Do the best you can not to succumb to stress. Now, life itself will bring some stressful circumstances, but it doesn't mean that your emotional intelligence and regulation have to totally implode. So get you the help that you need. You might need meditation as well as medication. You may need to make sure you're talking to your doctor, getting calling your psychologist or your psychiatrist up today to schedule your appointment to be seen. If you see yourself sleeping all day, you see yourself withdrawn from everybody, you see yourself showing some levels of avoidance, you see yourself being extremely sad and can't pull your way out of it, these may be signs that you are depressed. But if you get your support network, you get you some therapy, you get some people who can uplift you, you have a brand new, different routine to shake things up and help you to pull out of that emotional rut, you can thrive from depression. So I hope this has helped you today as you have listened to this episode. How can I pull myself out of depression? What are the signs of my depression? What are the steps to get me out of depression? I hope have been able to help you today on the Unbreakable Show. So I'm out. This is your boy, Dr. Holt. I've done my house calls, and I want to encourage you that you can come out of depression. And how about you start today and start right now? Take care. Happy New Year.